So you considered whether or not Mr. Floyd might have passed away from a primary heart event or a drug overdose. Did you reach an opinion or conclusion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty as to whether either of those two causes explain Mr. Floyd's death?
Yes, I did.
Would you tell us your opinion?
Sure. After reviewing all of the facts and evidence of the case, I can state with a high degree of medical certainty that George Floyd did not die from a primary cardiac event, and he did not die from a drug overdose.
Thank you, Dr. Rich. Would you tell us what evidence or facts, documents, what did you look at to help you to reach that conclusion about primary heart event and or drug overdose?
Sure. The three aspects of the evidence that I spent the most time reviewing were Mr. George Floyd's medical records, the videos, the different angles from the day that he died on May 25th, 2020, and the autopsy report.
So the medical records, the videos, and then the autopsy report.
Yes.
Let's start with the medical records then of those three. Would you tell the jury what you were looking for in the medical records?
Sure. So you get the medical records. It's usually pretty thick, but you take it one page at a time. And at the outset, I was looking to see if he had been diagnosed with any medical conditions. That's sort of the first step. Kind of just what you do with a patient in the office, sort of what medical problems do you have? And so I was looking to see initially what diagnoses George Floyd may have previously been diagnosed with.
And what were your takeaways then from having looked at the medical records and done this assessment?
So at that level, I felt pretty confident that Mr. Floyd had three medical problems. Number one, he had hypertension, high blood pressure. Number two, it appeared to me that he may have suffered from anxiety. And three, it looked like he also struggled with substance abuse.
Other than those three conditions, did Mr. Floyd have any diagnosis of heart disease while he was still alive?
No, he did not.
So you said you looked at the medical records not only for diagnoses of pre-existing conditions, but also for evidence of medical encounters?
Correct.
And by that you mean hospital visits, clinics, etc.?
Emergency room visits, exactly.
What did you find in that regard?
So this is, in my opinion, was a really important part of the review as well, because every time Mr. Floyd had an encounter with a medical professional, I viewed that as an opportunity to see if there was any signs, symptoms whatsoever, even subtle, that could have indicated, for example, that he had anything going on with his heart. And so at the emergency room visits, he had one prolonged hospitalization. I really tried to take a look at everything. I looked at any opportunity I could to see if he ever complained of chest pain, which he did not, palpitations, which is a fluttering sensation of the heart. I reviewed all of the documented physical examinations of his heart to see if there were any abnormalities noted, and there were not. No murmurs, nothing found. I looked at all of his labs that get sent to see if there were any cardiac markers of injury, which he did not have. I reviewed his EKGs and his other tests. I tried to be as thorough as possible because I view what we do as a clinician in some ways as actually being a bit of a detective. And our job is to try to figure out what might be going on, even if it's not overtly stated so in the chart.